So now, Collette Fournier, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You fell in love with photography at an early age, pursued that, and directly became a hardworking photographer, using your skills however it was needed in business. In your own words, you were always busy. Even in your early years, however, you were able to achieve grants and a solo exhibition in Rochester. The early 2000s, those, excuse me, though, were professionally significant years for you. You acquired your MFA, you were invited to join Kamwenge, and you began to work in education. And that last fact gives me a personal connection to you, the sharing of your art in formal educational settings as a teacher of many years. Your work is widely collected, published, and you are a recipient of numerous awards and recognitions. Now, out of all of that, one of the experiences that I read about that intrigued me the most was the opportunity you had to accompany two educational groups to Africa. Sounds like a dream to me. Can you share a bit about that, how it came to be, what it was like, details? You're on.
Wow. Well, I have to tell you that I was always working. I had an opportunity through an organization called PCCP to make a list of my photographs, and I had no idea that I had so many. But the just to address your comment or your question, I would say I don't. This is not mine. I don't know who's.
Robert, you're moving too fast here.
But I can say it's okay. I'll just keep talking because I know we have a time limit. I can say that I went to RIT in Rochester, and somehow or another I stayed in the community afterwards, working in television, working in film, editing 60 millimeter film, working for a couple of television stations. Then I went to work for About Time magazine, which was a monthly African American publication. And through working for that magazine, I started to meet a lot of people in the community. When you're in college, that's a whole different community than when you get into the city and you're downtown. You're meeting people from other campuses. And I got to know an administrator at the University of Rochester, Dr. Frederick Jefferson. And he asked me if I would like to go to Africa 3 times on 3 separate trips, educational tours as a still photographer. So of course I couldn't say no. And so that was my first trip. We went to Senegal, we went to Senegambia. And on the third trip, so we actually went February of 1987, and then another 2 trips the following year, February of 1988, and then February of I think I'm getting the years wrong, but anyway, it was 3 trips in 2 years, basically. And the interesting thing for me was before this happened, I had pre-visualized a slide presentation that I was going to put together of African images. And it was going to be called The Faces and Places of West Africa. It was going to be an audio-visual presentation that accompanied sound effects and voiceover. And all of this was in my head. I knew the music that I was going to use, and I was going to make sure that I gave everybody credit where credit, was
right.
very, very important, very important. You got to get that credit, that byline. So that was my first 3 trips to Africa. I took my vaccines because you didn't have a choice. And, of course, it was just absolutely fascinating. And I've had this thing about slavery since I was a child. I'm currently writing a book, and so I address a lot of those particular issues. And I thought by going to Africa that was going to start to answer a lot of questions about slavery and why it existed. The second trips to West Africa were to Ghana. Um,
Mhm.
that was Ghana, Togo, and Benin, and
Mhm.
that was in 2007. At
Mhm.
that time, I'd moved to Rockland County. I was working with the Journal News and the Bergen Record, and I became affiliated
Right
with the
there.
dance group Chico Awali, African Dance and Drum. And the head of that particular, the executive director was a woman named Alexandrina Dixon, who again I knew from the community. I'm a very community oriented person, like all of us Kamoinge people. We're all community oriented. And that's what we basically document is, the community. Um, so in going to um, Ghana, I think the second year we went was 2010, and we just, excuse me, exclusively stayed in Ghana. And so was that also for 2017.
Mhm.
However, I found that this Miss Drina, Alexandrina Dixon, head of Chico Awali, was going to be made a queen mother. And that totally just took me in a kind of another direction, because I had to now be prepared to photograph like a 4 hour celebration or
Wow.
durbar of her becoming a queen mother. And I, it still lives with me. It still lives with me. So that particular group of photographs I've edited, I've worked with, and I'm trying to present it um, to a museum. Actually,
Mhm.
I'm trying to do something that's more of a kind of a mixed media. So I'm not sure if I've answered all of your question, but I do want to just jump back to the first trip, because the first trip um, from Rochester, I was actually able to take a train into Bamako, Mali. And the significance of that was Rochester's sister city was Bamako. So
Ah,
at some point, we had had many visitors, mostly in the educational field, come to Rochester, University of Rochester. I don't think RIT, I think it was mostly a connection with the University of Rochester. And we would take them around and they would talk to us, and we reciprocated by when I went back to Mali, to Bamako, I reciprocated by meeting some of them and staying at the governor's compound. So it was a very interesting experience.
oh, very neat. Oh, yeah. You have done well with answering my multiple questions around that. That must have been a wonderful experience for sure.